And Jackson took the view that the struggle will continue and it will end with the dissolution, the annihilation of the Indians unless they move to the West. And he said, and if you want to move to the West, we will give you federal help. Now, the Cherokees had their own moral calculus on this. They said, no, this is our land. We have a right to be here. They took the case to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court held in their favor. At which point, Jackson is said to have said, Justice Marshall has delivered his opinion. Let him enforce it. Now, this sounds, again, like a president, at least if you don't like Jackson, as a president out of control. Wait a minute. The Supreme Court has ruled. You've got to fall into line. But for reasons I explained earlier, in Jackson's day, the Supreme Court was not universally accepted as the last word. And Jackson, by the way, he pointed out the Supreme Court's injunction didn't enjoin the President of the United States to do anything. In fact, even if Jackson had wanted to defend the Cherokees in Georgia, he couldn't have done it because there wasn't a federal army to speak of. He would have had to get state militia to do it, or he could have gotten a special appropriations to Congress to raise an army. And Jackson knew perfectly well that there weren't a handful of votes in Congress to raise an army to defend the Cherokees so they could live as a tribe in Georgia. So, Jackson's policy was for the good of the Indians and for the good of the United States, they must move. Now, you can say this, and I will agree that to a certain extent it's self-serving. It certainly serves the interests of those people who are greedy after the Indians' territory. But I can't say that Jackson was wrong. Actually, I will tell you something, and you can take this for what it's worth. It's entirely anecdotal. I was doing a book signing after my Jackson book came out, and there was this guy who was standing in line, and he was moving up toward the front, and he didn't have a book. And I thought, this is weird. Why stand in line if you don't want a book signed? But he came up, and when he got to the front, he leaned over close to me, and he looked around kind of suspiciously over his shoulder, and he said, I'm a Cherokee, and I want you to know that I think Andrew Jackson saved my people. And I would just point out that the Cherokee Nation is thriving in Oklahoma. Now, if you are inclined to condemn Andrew Jackson for his policy, I don't expect this to change your view. But it's a question that comes up all the time. And I'll just point out that, like everything in history, if you put the stuff in context, it gets more complicated.